Welcome back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols, still hanging with Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. Gentlemen, I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard. He has missed the last 5 games due to what the Clippers are calling a right knee sprain. We have not gotten any more information than that. Now, there has been reports out there of, is it actually torn? The Clippers, both on and off the record, frankly, have denied that to me. They say, no, it is a sprain. Obviously, at this time of year, injury conversations, they're always a little bit murky. But Ty Lue has just come out and said, I am preparing as if he cannot play this series. And hey, if he's able to come back, it'll be a nice surprise whenever that is. How worried should Clippers fans be that we just won't see him the rest of these playoffs, Perk?
Very worried. I don't think he comes back. I mean, anything dealing with the knee and the strained ACL, anything around there, for me, tearing my ACL, it's just something that you just can't play with. And if I'm Kawhi, I'm going to sit out because coming back, you're not going to be at full strength anyway. And you have a chance of possibly hurting yourself even more going into the summertime when you could just sit this one out, get ready for the summertime, get better in the summertime, get healthier, and then come back later.
Yeah, and again, you shouldn't be worried about something you can't control, and that's what T. Lue is looking at. The best way to approach this, and this is why sometimes when you're injured, it is very disconnected. You feel so disconnected from your teammates because they have to move on. They have to leave the injured and the wounded behind, and they have to move on. And that's really what it is. It's like, we can't sit and talk about, is Kawhi going to be come back? Every player on the Clipper team should act like Kawhi is not coming back. Everybody in the coaching staff, and even fans.
I think what they're doing.
That's that's what it is. It's just like, we don't need updates until Kawhi goes to probable or an improved. And until we hear that, we should no longer think about him and just hope that he can get healthy as quickly as possible. And maybe that day will come sooner than later.
And by the way, NBA players don't go from not practicing with the team at all to playing the next day.
No.
So we would know if he was doing on-court work with the team, if he was in 5-on-5s in practice.
If a guy is up in the suite with his kids, that is not something you typically see, because normally you should be down there with your teammates.
I do want to make a point about that, is that he goes down to the locker room at halftime, and he did that again last night. He did that for the previous home games. He is with the team when he feels like he can talk to them. He personally is not a sit on the bench guy when he is hurt, and has not been, and he's done it a few times. I'm not saying he's never done it, but typically when he is hurt, he will either sit in the locker room or he will sit up there and then come down to the locker room during halftime.
I understand that. I'm just saying, if there's an opportunity, Serge Ibaka, I see out there on the floor. If you're there and you can see something and point out something, he has a vast basketball knowledge that you give. I'm not criticizing him for it, but I'm just saying that indicates to me that he's a little bit further away from them being connected to the team. He's almost separated himself.
Well, again, I don't want to get into the mental.
Right.
Every player is different.
No, I'm talking about the injury. That means he's.
I know, but he's not pretending that, there are guys like Chris Paul, when we saw him taken out of the game at times for his shoulder. Trust me, Chris Paul wants to be on the bench. He is talking the whole time. He is yelling things out. He wants campaign to be doing this. He wants this. He's talking in the huddle. Kawhi is not that guy, even when he's playing.
Right.
We know that, right?
Well,
so it is okay to be a different personality.
I agree.
It is okay to do your talking in private, and that is what he has been doing. I want to be a little careful about, everybody's got to act exactly the same.
Yeah, I wasn't criticizing him for being
that,
up
he doesn't
there.
like the team or he's separated himself.
No.
I thought with that whole thing with LeBron a couple seasons ago, where he's sitting 4 seats away on the bench. It must mean X. It's just, that stuff feels very silly to me.
And then how can you not notice Serge Ibaka, right, wearing a curtain in the throw line?
I think Serge Ibaka looks fantastic. Thank you very much.
Don't do that.
And Serge Ibaka.
I do.
Think that.
Me and Serge Ibaka think that.
You and Serge Ibaka.
I'm all for personal
I'm
style.
just kidding, Serge. You're much
He
better
doesn't
dressed
do
than I am.
fashion. He does art, he says.
Yeah.
There you go. We touched on this a bit yesterday, but I do want to dig into Ben Simmons and the Sixers. He was not the player the Sixers needed him to be against the Hawks. I'm just going to put it that way. And Woj reported yesterday Ben's agent, Rich Paul, engaged Philadelphia on whether it makes sense to find a trade before the start of the season. Now, Woj was very clear. He did not request a trade. It was just a conversation of, hey, we all have this player's interest in mind. What should we be talking about right now? Simmons is owed $147 million over the next 4 years. Richard, Daryl Morey has come out and said, we are keeping Ben Simmons. Do you think that makes sense for them? Or do you think a change of scenery would be good? Maybe not even for the Sixers, but Ben Simmons.
Well, I think sometimes you can see a GM doing that to make it so it's not a fire sale.
Yes,
if
of
everyone's,
course.
we're moving on.
Well, no, I mean, yes, that's what Daryl should say.
Daryl should say that. So let's people say, well, Daryl Morey didn't say it. Said he was like, look, you do that to kind of stop the market from crashing on the players. Like, no, we love them, we want to grow from them. I think it's time for them to move on. From my sense is that if you can't handle that pressure in the second round, if you're in that moment, but you have Joel Embiid, who's an MVP caliber player, and you're trying to win championships, so you have to make evaluations every single day. Is this player going to help us get closer or further away from a championship? Not 50 wins, not division titles, no, like a championship. And I think that's where Ben Simmons, if he's not going to improve, this is not a Philadelphia 76er or like Ben Simmons problems. This is just a Ben Simmons problem, and they need to move on.
Well, I don't think it's about him improving, because I don't think he's a guy that's going to be able to knock down jump shots consistently or even knock down jump shots, period. He is a guy that's just out of position. He is a power forward. He's a center type player. And him and Joel Embiid is just in each other's way. If you go back and look at the games when Joel Embiid didn't play, Ben Simmons went off. He even dropped 40 on Utah. In Utah, and Joel was not there. I mean, he had multiple 20-plus games. I think it's time for him to move on. I think they should move him on to a situation where he could be used like a Sabonis, a guy that could initiate the offense, dribble handoff, roll to the basket, has a big that loves to float around the three-point line like Miles Turner, Karl Anthony Towns, and then have him playing in the paint. It just came to the conclusion that they don't fit. They don't fit.
Okay, but here's where I think you got to make the distinction. First of all, just saying trade someone to trade someone, I don't think it's an untenable situation, especially in the regular season. In the regular season, it worked, right? We all were like, oh, they got the number 1 seed. Ben had Defensive Player of the Year consideration. You can't pretend that this wasn't a good regular season for the Sixers. And by the way, the partnership between them, yes, they occupy much of the same space, but you put enough shooters around them. We have seen that work in multiple stretches of when Ben has been with the Sixers. That being said, if there is a guy available soon, and you can make a deal that's good, like, say, when James Harden suddenly decides he wants to be traded from Houston, I have been very vocal. I would have tried everything I could to make that deal because Ben Simmons' value was high then, and he would also be trying to keep James Harden away from Brooklyn, which, if you play in the Eastern Conference, very important. That being said, right now, his value is much lower. And after this performance, I don't think they will ever get value for him. So I would say build him back up during the regular season, build his trade value back up, and maybe trade him at the deadline.
Yeah, but Rachel, here's the problem. When him and Joel is on the floor together in the regular season, I watched this throughout the course of this season. He loses his confidence. Why? Because he's not getting touches. So go look. He was still averaging 5 points and 9 points and 8 points throughout the regular season because they were going through Seth Curry, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris. That's why Ben Simmons locked in on the defensive end. And then when time came in the playoffs for him to contribute, he couldn't even make a layup because he didn't develop that confidence throughout the regular season.
Well, yes, I do think one of the main things they have to work on this summer to either make him better for their team or to get his trade value up, either one, is he cannot be scared of contact going in the fourth quarter to hit foul shots. Because if that was fixed, if that one thing was fixed, if he could hit free throws and wasn't scared to be put in the position of hitting free throws.
Okay, but really quickly.
They would have won some of those games.
Yes. How many years have we been talking about that for Ben Simmons?
I agree.
So now, if a guy's been in the league 5 years now, 6 years, and we've been talking about it for the last 3 or 4.
You think it's just never going to happen?
I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but we can't assume that us sitting up here saying they need to build up his confidence or he needs to improve his shot. He's been hearing that for 3 years. And for 3 years, we end up saying the same thing. So...
Yeah, but RJ, we've been saying the same thing about his shooting. We never said anything about him finishing around the basket.
Well, he's not.
He struggled with finishing around the basket.
But that was a fear of free throws, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes. He didn't. You don't. He's so big and strong. Like, that's the one thing about Giannis or even guys like Shaq that are high-level players. They don't care. Give me 25 free throws. I'll make 13 of them, but I'm going to get my 25.
Right. Well, we will circle back on Giannis free throws in just 2 minutes. Coming up, we're going to talk about Jason Kidd being tabbed as the newest head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. They've also hired longtime Nike exec Nico Harrison, which Team Spoon. Just saying. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. Today I am joined in studio by the Hall of Famer, co-host of PTI, Michael Wilbon.
Never going to get used to that.
I'm never going to get sick of saying it, friend. And also,
love hanging out with you.
Just a couple of NBA champs. All right, fine. Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. He's in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying.
Don't get crazy, Rachel.
Let's get right to that conference finals game from last night, friends. Paul George led the Clippers with a game-high 27 points as they took Game 3 for their first conference finals win in franchise history. Here is what PG said about what changed for his team last night.
You know, it's a scrappy team. We have to match their physicality. I thought we did that. We have to match their scrappiness. I thought we did that. We can't allow this team to play harder than us. I thought that was just the way we approached tonight. It's just great. We got so many guys that want this. So many guys that are lost in this moment. That, you know, we just stay together. We know that we have a real possibility to do something special. And, you know, we're going to give everything we have.
All right, so in this postseason, the Clippers are 0-6 in games 1 and 2 of playoff series. Not ideal, not what you want, but they are an impressive 9-1 in games 3 through 7 thus far in the postseason. So, Mr. Wilbon, Hall of Famer, what makes the Clippers successful in these adverse situations?
Everything Paul George just said. I thought that was perfectly, eloquently said. Mm-hmm. They play so hard. Like, we are so a culture addicted to numbers now. We have to find some way to justify what a team did or what a series is about. This is about how hard they played and how they are scrappy. They are just tough-minded and physically tough. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. I don't know why, and these two gentlemen to my left probably do know why. Why does it take until Game 3 to get started? I don't know what activates it.
Right.
But once they get in this series, and any of them, and they are down, they played so hard last night. I don't even want to say they played harder, but when they play that well, and they are still talented, even without Kawhi Leonard, man, I mean, they're going to play harder tomorrow. Yep. They just are. This is what they do.
No, I couldn't agree more. When you look at, you know, I think the issue for them in these 0-2s is that if you look at these games, they're all very close, right? The Utah game, they had a chance to win up in Utah, you know, so it's like they're coming out of some of these losses with confidence. You lose on the road to a very good team, and it's like you have your chances to win.
Game 2 is as close as
Game 2, they were supposed to.
Game 1 was a 2-point game before the dunk on the inbound.
Exactly. So all of a sudden you start looking at these games and you're like, oh, well, Phoenix is at home. They had a bit of the edge, but ultimately this Clipper team they could easily be up. They could easily be up, you know, our 2-1 in this series. Yeah.
You know what I noticed last night was that we have this saying when we were in the locker room, don't hope that they miss, make them miss. And by that said, I'm looking at how they were contesting shots. Like, they were contesting shots with a meaning, with a purpose. They were like, and it starts with Patrick Beverley. He's been hugging Devin Booker like a pair of leggings, okay? I mean, he's been that close to him. And this is what, to all the kids out there, when you have that saying that says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Remember, in the first round, Patrick Beverley didn't even play. Second round, he came in, he strapped up Jordan Clarkson off the bench. Now, he's giving Devin Booker hell right now. He don't know what to do. He's all up in him. He's frustrating him. And I'm frustrated watching it. He's annoying me.
I mean, I will say, being court level last night, what you're talking about just playing hard. I mean, of course you can see it, right? We've all seen when a team turns that up. I don't know if you can do that for 3 more games at that level. They were playing at the desperation, we are going to get eliminated level, which is not normal for a Game 3. But since no team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit,
play with that desperation.
It was kind of that Game 7 for them.
You know what I wonder, and Richard was schooling me on some of this last night. We were talking during the game. Richard, how much does T. Lue have to do with activating this and his use of players, the way he goes about it, which is probably different from other coaches?
No, it is, but its ability to keep you engaged, even when you're not in the rotation. Certain guys, this series might be yours. Obviously, Patrick Beverley, they tried to put him on Luka Doncic, and that was not the answer.
Yep.
So once they got down, and you understand, you see what your coach is doing. And as long as he keeps open communication, then Luke Kennard. Then all of a sudden, Luke Kennard goes from not playing to playing. You got to be able to keep your guys engaged while you're playing chess. Because if guys are just getting fat, getting out of shape, so I didn't mean to point at you, Perk.
It's all good.
I'm just saying, if people are getting out of shape and not paying attention, then all of a sudden, when it's time for them to step up and play, they're not ready. But his guys are constantly ready.
But, Perk, is there a point where T. Lue's going to run out of adjustments? He's gone big, he's gone small, he's gone back again.
You know, I've been preaching this time and time again, and people think that I was being biased, but I've been in those locker rooms with T. Lue. I know he doesn't sleep. He's a student of the game. He watches film night in and day in and day out, right? And when you think about it, a lot of people's like, oh, yeah, T. Lue, man, he don't really hoop and holler up and down the sideline. That's not him. But if he gets you in that film room, he's going to address you. It don't matter who it is. I didn't see him get on RJ a few times, and rightfully so.
I mean, we get on RJ, so that's not. I mean, that's not what makes him a great coach. But he is a basketball savant when it comes to that sort of thing. I don't feel like I'm overblowing that. I have seen him on the back of a napkin do what it would take several coaches a long time to see an opening for. It comes to him, and he told me a few days ago. Once he realized it was with your Boston team, he said that a couple times Doc would lean back and say, what should we do here? And that he found himself having that answer earlier, quicker, and more precisely than he thought he would. And that from then on, he developed the confidence to know this is a thing I am better at than almost anyone else.
He's pretty.
And there are parts of coaching that other people will be better at, and he will tell you that himself. But this thing, this part of being an NBA coach, he is one of the best at, and it is showing in these games. We will have to see as the competition keeps ratcheting up if it can be enough to make the difference, because the Suns, that competition is high. They had a 9-game winning streak going into last night's game. That was, of course, snapped with that loss. Chris Paul, Devin Booker combining to go 10 for 40 from the field. CP3 had been away from the team, right, in those health and safety protocols for 11 days. So we expected him to not quite have his wind and all of that. And you saw that during the game. Book wearing a mask to protect that broken nose he suffered in game 2. He broke the nose in 3 places, people. This was him talking about it after the game. Take a listen.
That was probably the worst part. It was a procedure that they usually say put you under for, but we had a flight out a couple hours later, so they just numbed it up all over the place. It felt like eight shots to numb it up, and then they go in there and put it back. they break it again. They break it back in place. So the nose feels fine. So we lost the game.
So there's a lot of things to point to there, right? But Perk, for you, what was the biggest reason the Suns were not fully themselves in that game?
Well, they were uncomfortable. They were playing on their heels all night long. And that's credit to the Clippers, but I think you got to give a lot of credit to Zubac. He was the best big on the floor last night. He outplayed Ayton on both ends of the floor. I thought he did a great job of diving to the basket. T. Lue rolled with him. I thought he did a great job in his pick and roll defense. I thought he did a great job of going verticality, attacking the offensive glass, putting pressure on his Phoenix Suns team. So when Ayton went to help, he was there to clean a lot of things up. He was the unsung hero in that game last night for the Clippers.
Yeah, no, I think it was the backcourt. This was the first time that the Phoenix Suns, one of their guys didn't get going, right? This was the first time they're both backcourt. And then even when Chris Paul was out, Cameron Payne was stepping in like he was Chris Paul. So it was like you weren't just missing much. That backcourt has been on absolute fire. And this was the first game that the Clippers put that pressure on them, and they didn't have the answer. This was one of them didn't have the answer, or Devin Booker didn't get Chris Paul to the fourth quarter, so Chris Paul can do what he does. This was the first game that I saw them put that pressure and keep that pressure on.
Well, so you mentioned Cam Payne. He did not play in the second half because he twisted his ankle.
At least 4 minutes in the game.
And we don't know how bad that ankle injury is, right? I mean, LeBron James missed quite 46 weeks with an ankle injury. It ended up being closer to 6. If this is a high ankle sprain, he could be looking at not playing the rest of the series. If it's just a twisted ankle, he could be back tomorrow. But Chris Paul is the one I want to ask you about, Wilbon, because you have spent so much time watching this man play. Do you think the not quite Chris Paulness we saw last night is going to be gone by game 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We sat here at this set last night before the game, and there was a little warning. Perk said, hey, listen, you've got to play yourself out of that rust. It took a half or a little more, and he still wasn't all the way out of it. Yeah. Do I expect to see the Chris Paul that we saw in the previous 2 series? I do. And the question is how long does it take to get adjusted? Did either one of you ever have to wear a mask? Richard, you had
No,
you didn't.
no, not like this situation. I think you had to wear it for one game because you might something, but yeah, those masks. It like again, Rip Hamilton made it famous and he was just like he wore it all the time.
He wore it after he needed to.
Yeah,
I covered that team.
He kept it going.
Wore it, he was just like, well, now I'm comfortable in it. I'm going to keep it on.
But guys, historically, just
it takes a while to get, so Booker had, and it sounds like excuse making. The first thing was that defense. My goodness, Reggie Jackson plays some of the best defense. And Reggie's a plus defender anyway, but last night he was on it. Paul George. I mean, they had an ensemble, a rotation of those guys on Devin and on CP. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be something to get away from. I'm wondering what adjustments they're going to make, and it's harder to make them without Campaign. Remember, Campaign's coming off a game where he had 28. 9 and no turnovers. That's a Chris Paul game. Yeah. Where are they going to get that from if he can't be that effective?
But maybe he'll be back. We have zero idea of the severity of that injury. It could be really bad. It could be not bad at all. We will find out in the next 24 hours. We will also find out later in this show what these gentlemen think of the Bucks and Hawks series after 48 points in Game 1.
Happy we made it to these conference finals, but we're not satisfied.
Welcome back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols, joined by Richard Perk and the great Hall of Famer.
You've got to stop. I'm going to get you to stop this.
No, I am never going to stop for the rest of our lives. Let's take a look at today's magic moment, brought to you by Walt Disney World Resort. Game 1 of the conference finals. Trae Young lit the Bucks up for 48 points, along with 11 assists. He's the first player ever with at least 45 points and 10 assists in a conference finals game. The first player ever, Mike. How should the Bucks try to slow down Trae in Game 2 tonight?
Look, they'll have all kinds of tricks in their bags after all this film study of things they want to do to him. The things they want to do to Trae Young. I like the whole philosophy of changing it up. You can't give him a steady diet of anything because he's going to get used to it very quickly, adjust to it, and kill you anyway. Yep. So they'll figure out what order they want to use those things, randomly, whatever it is. That's not Milwaukee's biggest problem. Milwaukee's biggest problem is Milwaukee. They are hard to watch. They do so many dumb things in not just a series, but a game. So they come out, what were they like 8 for 37 or something, 39? What are they doing shooting that many threes? Right. It reminds me that night that Houston missed 29 in a row. I was at that game. And I remember calling up some Hall of Famers. I won't mention any names. And they were like, you better skewer them. Right. At some point, there's a plan B. Right. At some point, there's okay, do they know themselves? They have less self-awareness, I said yesterday, than my 13-year-old son. They don't know what they don't do well. Stop with the threes. They dominate the game closer to the basket.
They are a good three-point
shooting team. But not now, not in the postseason.
In that moment,
Rachel, they're shooting 30% for the postseason from three.
I know, and obviously, as we talk about with this team, and frankly, with Mike Budenholzer teams, the playoffs are different.
They're different, all right. 30%.
You know what? When you're dealing with a guy like Trae Young, a guy that's great at drawing fouls and getting to the free throw line, has unlimited range, could go by you, has the flow game in the lane, all bets are off with me. As soon as he cross half court, I'm sending 2 at him. Somebody else has to show me that they're capable of dropping 48 points. Somebody else has to beat us. And not only that, I'm sending 2 people at him. And when he gets rid of the ball, I'm having Drew Holiday go full out denial. He can't get the ball back. I watch teams do it to him in the regular season. I would make that move and do it to him in this postseason.
Yeah, and part of it is that you have to be okay with what's going to happen. If you're going to double team him, you're going to give up open shots. The idea is, are they going to knock down those shots for 4 quarters, right? Because when you're looking at Trae Young, they don't have really a secondary playmaker. They have guys that can make plays, but no secondary playmaker. It is in Trae's hands. He controls the tempo of the game, the pace of the game, and really he determines the entire flow. So putting an extra body on him, giving him different looks. One thing that Greg Popovich used to do a great job of is we would come out of a timeout and he would say, just on this play, we're going to blitz him. Just on this singular play. And we would go out, we would be in a blitz, and then you wouldn't do it again. But the next 3 plays, the guard would be looking for it. Are they going to blitz? Are they not going to blitz? So you're taking away some of that downhill aggression. That's what you're saying switching up. It's not just for steady diets, but it's also like 1 play here, 1 play there out of a timeout, having your guys trained to do that.
What about Drew Holiday real quickly? Holiday has given him some problems. Yeah. Holiday is long enough, quick enough, strong enough that he is given trades the ball. So I love that suggestion about when he gets rid of the ball, I'm going to have Holiday on him trying to deny him because he's one of the few guys who has the physical tools to do that.
Yeah. You're right. And look, you got to remember, Trae Young just went through Ben Simmons. Okay, a long, athletic, 6'10". Yeah, right. And so he's not afraid of Drew Holiday, and I know he's an elite defender, but at this point, if a guy's taught you for a 48-piece spicy, you have to, all bets off, you got to go double. By the way, Richard, I didn't never think that you would think back on your career and think about your Spurs days.
Yeah.
Wow.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
I probably wouldn't publicly say that, but yeah.
And yet here we are. We talked a little bit with these guys about the whole shimmy yesterday.
Yeah.
I just wanted your take before you leave us to do your 6 other jobs.
One of the jobs. There's 2 things I think about that. One, I'm old. And I think about what the guys I covered. I think about sitting in this room with Irvin Johnson.
So look at Giannis's reaction. He was like,
he mimicked it.
He said, look at what this guy is doing to us out there.
Well, the old school guys that I know well, Irvin Johnson, like I said, Magic would have fallen out of a chair because there was retribution coming on the very next possession. Charles Oakley, Charles Barkley. There was a physical toughness that just said that's a rule, unwritten rule. You're not shimmying, I'll knock you out. They would have knocked him out. An official, a referee might have said, as I saw what happened with Bill Laimbeer, when Robert Parrish did knock him out, he looked at him, Jess Curse, he looked at Bill and said, Bill, get up. This is a different day. I grew up with that basketball. Now, he is such a showman. I love watching this kid. I love it. I didn't think he'd be this good coming out of school. I love watching him and John Collins together particularly.
You know what? This kind of reminds me of when I was in Boston and we was playing Cleveland and LeBron and them used to do all those handshakes and dancing on the sideline. And he told the media, if people don't like it, then do something about it. And that's how Trae Young is. If you don't like it.
But what can you do in today's
No, but when
because we sit here and wax poetic about
let him go
Charles
for
Oakley.
48.
But just in terms of the quote retribution, right?
But there's no more retribution.
But that doesn't exist anymore.
No,
and it doesn't exist, by the way, not because guys today aren't tough. It's just, it's been legislated out.
Yeah.
The league has said you cannot do that. So what do you, aside
Rachel,
from scheming it for a guy shimmies on you, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, but I wasn't saying, I was saying don't let it get to that point.
Right.
That means put some attention on him and lock him up. Like Giannis in there arguing at his teammates, but he was catching some of that heat. He caught some of that 48 too. He should have been mad at himself.
Yes, absolutely. And Trae Young's quote about the shimmy was very telling.
I had a ton.
He said,
ton of time.
"I just had so much time."
And that right there is the most disrespectful. That statement is more disrespectful than the shimmy.
But that is the thing. But that is the thing that NBA rules currently will let you do something about if you can do it.
He was spinning the ball.
I would call a guy off the end of the bench tonight, and I would say something else that had been legislated out. There'd be a little something extra in your paycheck.
Yeah.
I don't mean knock him out. I mean put him on the floor.
I was that guy at one point in time for the Cavs.
See?
Jay Crowder.
And that's a whole rivalry we're not going to get into before this commercial break. Mr. Wilbon, Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for joining us. You will be back with us through the conference finals and finals, whether you know it or not.
You know how I text you during the shows and tell you how I love it when these guys are on.
Before we go to break, do you want to tell them? Because you text me.
I do. I text Rachel times when you guys are on. I love it. I love it. It's great television. Thanks for letting me get in the way today.
Of course. I'm sorry.
Anything but to listen to him.
Coming up on the show, Wilbon's leaving, but you shouldn't. We'll discuss the Sixers and how they should handle Ben Simmons.